What's going on, guys and gals? This is Auto Tech. So today I'm going to show you how to remove and install the rear tire on a 2017 Yamaha FJ-09. Now the thing about it being a 17 is I have ABS. So it'll be very similar to an FZ-09 or a non-ABS FJ-09. You just won't have to worry about sensors and crap. So first thing first, get your bike set up on a suitable jack stand, or lift. I'm thinking automotive terms. My Vortex rear stand does do the job for the rear pretty good, unlike the front one. And then we're going to take a 4mm Allen socket, and I'm not left-handed. We're going to remove this sensor. So just remove that bolt, and then we'll slowly work that sensor out. And by slowly work that sensor out, I mean like give it a couple of twists and then it should just come right out. Like if your bike's newer like mine, you don't got to worry about it being all gummed up or anything like that. But if you've got some miles and rust on yours, usually if you twist it a little bit, you can start working your way out. You don't want to be hammering a screwdriver in there because you'll snap the sensor off, which if you snap it off, it's not a big deal. Take the wheel off and then just drive the rest of the sensor through. Worst case Ontario. I mean, you don't want to do that because like I bet you this is a couple $100. Next, we have to remove this caliper. So for the Allen head, it's a 6mm, and for the bolt, it's a 14mm. So go ahead and take these out. And again, 14mm for that front one. Okay, so this will be a little bit tough one-handed, but support that sensor and then just slide that up. So there you have it. I think I am going to go up here with it. Yeah, that seems to be all right. I'll see if I can zip tie it somewhere. So I was able to zip tie that just through there to there with 2 zip ties. Now it's not going to go anywhere. I decided to put a rag under that just so that if it's vibrating or something like that while I'm working on it, I'm not scratching up that rear fender. For this next part, you need 2 12mm wrenches, which I forgot at work. So luckily your kit has one, and then I had another one kicking around. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold that one, and then you're going to loosen this nut. So yeah, let's see if I can do it one-handed. Oh, I can. And so yeah, you're gonna just back off this jam nut. Fuck. Back that jam nut off, and then wind this adjuster all the way in, which is loose. Sometimes 2 hands makes your life way easier. Okay, so like that, and then we're gonna do the same on the other side. So same deal on this one. You're gonna loosen that off, and both of these, they're not reverse thread or anything like that. So loosens it, and then tightening this adjuster nut tightens it in, right? Brings it away from the adjuster. Now you're gonna take a 27mm and you're gonna loosen your axle nut up. This side is locked in place, so don't worry about that. And just keep an eye on your bike while it's on the stand. Like, make sure you're not going to tip it off of there. And it's torqued to about 100 foot-pounds, so it's really similar to loosening the lug nuts on your car, except just a touch tougher because that is a lock nut. So it's got a special little washer on it that keeps it from backing off on you. So we're going to loosen this a fair amount. Okay, for this next part, you're going to want some rubber gloves or a glove of some sort. Or go ahead, get your fingers all greasy so that you can be like, look, Ma, I'm a mechanic. And then, you know, you got grease all over your fingers, you can look cool. I do this shit all day long, so I'm tired of washing my hands all the time. It sucks having to wash your hands to take a piss and then wash your hands again. So I'm going to wear rubber gloves, your choice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push this all the way forward which is a little bit easier with 2 hands. And then what we're going to do is we're going to walk that chain off. So I'm going to get it started with 2 hands, and then I'm going to check back with you. You know what? I seem to be having some technical difficulties. This must be something that's new, because usually you can loosen off these adjusters, push that wheel all the way forward, and then if you just grab it down here and kind of pull out on the chain, you can like walk the chain off that bike. This one, I can't seem to push this one far enough forward to get that chain to come off the sprocket there. So we're gonna have to go ahead and take that axle out, I guess. To remove that axle completely, just take this nut right off. Take the washer and adjuster off. Pay attention to where they fall. Okay, so the easiest way that I've found to do this in the past is once you get that nut completely off, get your foot under the tire, and then you see just with the flick of your toes you can actually lift that tire up and down, and then we're gonna push that through like that, and then with your other hand you're going to slide that out, and a bunch of stuff's probably about to hit the ground because I'm doing this one-handed while holding the tire. Okay, there we go. Get that on the ground without screwing up those threads at the front. And then your bracket here can kind of come off-ish. Okay, we'll leave that for a second. Now we should be able to get that chain off. Look at that. Oh, that's a thing of beauty. And now, with 2 hands, sorta, we're gonna back that up. And then I'm gonna hold the camera like this, and we're gonna bring that with us. And we're gonna have a towel over there. There we go, perfect. All right, that's how you remove a tire one-handed. Yeah, that's pretty impressive, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm surprised a bunch of stuff didn't hit the ground there. So now that your tire's out there, don't leave it like that because you don't want it to fall on your sprocket. But now you can safely remove that tire. These washers or spacers, if you look, there's a machined edge on there. You can, well, I just screwed it up there, but you can see that there's a machine little lip there, and that's what goes into there. So I'm not going to set these on the ground. I'm going to get a rag and then put these face down. I also opted to put a rag under my chain there, just so I don't get a bunch of grease all over my swing arm. But yeah, as you can see, the washers are on the ground there, and now I'm ready to take this tire out. Well, that didn't take too long to get this rear tire mounted up. I'm just kidding, I took it to work with me, and now we're gonna go ahead and put it back on. I decided to just quickly pop that sprocket off so that I didn't have to worry about losing it in the truck or anything. To pop that back on, I think the easiest solution is going to be just to put these rubbers back on the rim and then pop that sprocket back on. Alright, so when you pop all those rubbers back in there, make sure you kind of got them all going the same way, and then we're going to carefully pop this on. I'm going to use 2 hands for this though, so that I can seat it in there squarely. Get the rim kind of lined up in the swing arm, and then take your spacer. Remember that little machine line goes inwards. Smear a little bit of brake grease on there, or brake caliper lubricant, and then we're going to go ahead and pop that back in. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Before I put this bracket back in there, I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant just where the pads slide. This is good practice because it's basically just servicing it up so that you know, you're not going to get any squeaks or anything like that down the line. And then just because I can, I'm going to put a little bit on that little nub where that bracket rides, just on the swing arm there. Not much. Little goes a long ways. If a little is good, a lot is not better. Roll the tire forward a little bit, and then slide this bracket on. You want that little nub to line up in that slot. So basically like this isn't going to come up and down, but you can still slide it in and out. Take this opportunity right now and put a little bit of anti-seize on the axle shaft. Doesn't need a whole lot, and you know, now is kind of the time to do it before you start trying to lift everything up in there. So I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed for going back in like I was for taking it out, unfortunately. So if you remember me telling you about hooking your toe under it so that you can kind of lift it, what we're going to do is we're going to roll the tire forward, hook the chain on, and then lift it into place, and then slide this axle through from the left. So with a little bit of patience, you can work that back in there. And like I said, if you have your foot underneath here, the tire's not very heavy, as you can see, like I'm lifting it right now with just my toes. So you want to pop that through there, make sure your washer's still there, make sure your spacer's still on this side, make sure that your brake bracket is lined up and that it's still in the slot there. And the way that you check that is make sure that this isn't going to swing around. Go ahead and pop that adjuster back on there, and then you're going to want to put the washer back on, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to thread this down until it basically just touches, but we can still move the wheel back and forth. So now it's time to cut that zip tie that was securing that brake caliper. So now the trick with this is you're going to have to separate these pads, like use two hands while you're sliding it over the caliper, being mindful of the ABS sensor. And you want this part of the pad here to sit right here in the bracket. Just take your time, no rush. This would be a good time to pop this pin out and put a little bit of brake lubricant on there, just so that it, you know, you're servicing it and you won't have to worry about that for a while. So I hope this shows up. You want that pad to be sitting on top of that bracket like that. And then if you just reach in behind here, you can feel if the pad is seated in there. For that front bolt, put a little bit of lubricant on the pin end and a little dab of blue at the threads. And then we're going to thread that in, but don't tighten it just yet. Same idea for that rear bolt there. You're going to put a little bit of blue on the threads and a little bit of lubricant on the smooth part. And then we're going to thread this in and touch both of them down. The 6mm Allen is torqued to 16 foot-pounds. The 14mm bolt is torqued to 20 foot-pounds. I'm going to put a little smear of lubricant just around the plastic base of the sensor, just so that you know, if this doesn't get touched again for quite a while, I don't have to worry about it seizing in there. Little dab of blue on that 4mm Allen, and we're going to install this and torque it to 4 foot-pounds. Now we need to adjust the chain and set the slack and also align this back tire. So as you can see, like, that's way too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to just wind these out until this is less, and then we'll fine tune it from there. Okay, so I wound them out quite a ways, and now I'm much less. This is still too much slack for the chain. What we want is 10 to 15 millimeters. So we want probably about there, that much. So as you can see, I'm still way over that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fine tune this. You've got notches on your swing arm, and then you've got notches on your adjusters. So what you want to do is, what I like to do, because those are some pretty big notches, is I'll go on the one side of it, and then I'll line up the other side, and then I'll double check it. The chain, I mean. Alright, so that is your 10 to 15 millimeters of deflection. Now you can get a tape measure out and just kind of hold it at, like, say the 1 inch mark here, or like even the 10 mil, and then you'd want it, or I'm trying to think here, if you had it at the 10, you'd want it to go to like 17 and 3, because you'd want, like, you know, around that 14 millimeters of deflection, right? So, and then, you know, quadruple check your notches, make sure you're as close as you can possibly get it. And then we're going to take our 2 12 mils and we're going to wind that jam nut down and tighten it up. So the torque isn't huge on that or anything, just snug, because it's, you know, that's not what's really holding your axle in place. It's just more so a second option, I guess. And then go ahead and tighten up the other side as well. Now, don't get too ahead of yourself. You still have to torque this up. You're going to take your 27 mil and you're going to torque that to 108 foot-pounds. So basically not far off of what you end up torquing your car lug nuts to, unless you have like an import of sorts. And then what I like to do is just push that back brake a few times, make sure it's holding, which it is. Awesome. And then I like to rotate it around a little bit, make sure nothing's touching, no grinding. And yeah, that's about it really, guys. That's how you remove the back tire and reinstall it and adjust the chain on a 2017 Yamaha FJ-09 with ABS. Okay, so the big question, why should you remove your own tire? You're not doing your own tire anyways. Not everybody's like me and has access to a tire machine, so why should we bother? Well, because this will save you easily over $100. What's going to end up happening is you're going to take your bike in and they're going to charge you, like, I can't 100% quote this, but it's going to be like 0.8 of an hour or 1.1 hours just to remove this, and then a tire change on top of that. So save yourself the 100 and something bucks, take them the tire and pay them the $50 or whatever they charge to change the tire. You know, if you got the time and the space to do it, and a little bit of mechanical knowledge, like, it's not very hard to do, you can save yourself a couple $100 by doing, removing them yourself and taking them in to get them done. Just something to consider. Not everybody wants to work on their stuff. Like, I've had friends that were just like, I don't want to deal with the hassle. I just hand them my key and pay a bill. And that's fair enough, nothing wrong with that. But I can't afford to do that kind of stuff. One of the reasons I can afford toys is because I do all my own work and save the money. So I hope this helped you guys out. If you have any questions or anything like that, or an easier technique or something that I happen to miss, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and thanks for taking the time and watching.